What's going on, everybody? It's Brian here. How's everyone's night going? Last night I watched something that I wasn't even aware that was going on until, yesterday. It happened a few days ago, but I finally was scrolling on YouTube and seen this. So, last night there was a Democratic debate. Not many people know about this. It was aired on a YouTube channel, the YoungTurks.com live. And the three Democratic candidates, which, Jink, what's his last name? Jink, hold on. Cenk Uygur, I didn't even know he was running for president. I didn't. And I watch the news all the time. I heard nothing about Cenk is awesome. There's a lot I agree with him on, a lot I disagree with him on. But I've been watching the Young Turks for years. I didn't even know he was running for president. Sorry, let me turn down my TV. My TV's loud. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, I didn't even know that Cenk was running for president. I knew that Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips were, but I watched the debate. I turned it off. Like, there was 5 minutes left. I had to do something, so I didn't technically finish watching it. Probably should have done that. But, I watched majority of it, and I would have to say each candidate made some interesting points. And so I wanted to get into it of, like, what was talked about and stuff, and, like, who I agree with the most and who I ultimately think won the debate. So let's get right into it. So I wanted to address... They each made some good points. The thing was, is this going to be the last election? See, the final election? Question mark. There is a good question that could be a thing. Because, you have on the Republican side Trump. He might try to stay in office again. Vivek Ramaswamy is also a fascist. Then on the Democratic side, you have President Biden, who is also refusing debate, just like Trump. He's rigging the primary process. And something that I found out last night that Marianne Williamson raised the question of, that it's not just the Democratic debates, Biden and Trump not showing up, that are the horrible thing. For Biden not showing up to the debate, that's not the horrible thing. There's something even worse. In Tennessee, Alabama, and a few other states, they're not even going to be appearing on the ballot. They've met, all three candidates have met the ballot access requirement by signatures and financial raised, and they are refusing to put them on the ballot. They're in court. They're trying to put them on the ballot. Not to mention, you have New Hampshire and Iowa, that even if one of these three candidates would get more votes than Joe Biden, they could beat Joe Biden by 50 points. And they're still not going to get a single delegate. President Biden's going to get all the delegates. Isn't that bullcrap? Even if the states should not vote for him to be in the majority, Biden could come in fourth place, and he would still get all the delegates. Now, the odds of him coming in fourth place are very low, but, it's just crappy. And Marianne Williamson raised that issue that democracy could be dying on both sides. And then you had Dean Phillips, who raised the issue of, which is probably the greatest point of the night, how can you have the two frontrunners of both parties, former President Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden, refusing to debate? You have Trump on the Republican side. There's been 4 debates. He has not shown up to a single one of them because he doesn't want to get his record or his candidacy or him called out as a person. Same on the presidential side, on the Democratic side, I should say. RFK Jr. challenged President Biden in multiple debates. You had these other candidates challenge him. RFK Jr. said that he would debate him one-on-one or debating with Marianne Williamson at the time. All 3 of these candidates have challenged him to one-on-one debates. They've challenged him to formal debates. It's even worse on the Democratic side because at least the RNC is having debates. The DNC is refusing to have debates because they're rigging the nomination for Joe Biden. And no, I don't mean voter fraud. I mean they're doing things like kicking candidates off the ballots, giving certain delegates to Biden, even though he's not going to, even though the other candidates can't. Well, basically, they're not allowing other candidates to earn delegates. They're kicking them off ballots. They're refusing to hold debates. They're telling the media not to cover them. And it's really hurting. I still think at the end of the day, even if one of these 3 candidates were on the debate stage with Biden, and, like, there was multiple debates, I still think Biden would probably be the nominee. It'd be a lot closer, but I still think he'd be the nominee simply because he's the incumbent, even though he's extremely unpopular. I still think he'd be the nominee. But still, that's democracy. Biden says that he's running because Trump's running. Okay, debate the other 3 rivals here, Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, and Cenk Uygur, and tell them and debate with them on why is it so important that Donald Trump is defeated. Also, if Joe Biden's such a good president like he's claimed to be, go and defend your record. Are you scared one of the other candidates might take a shot at you and call you out on something like giving money to Ukraine? I don't know what these candidates' stances are on that, but giving money to Ukraine, outrageous spending, not keeping any of your promises, do you think you might get caught on that for that? Cenk's good point is about how in most states Trump is 3 to 4 points ahead of Biden, and in Wisconsin he's 7 points ahead. He said, how do you expect to win if you're behind? And he made a very good point. He said, talking about how Biden thinks he's the strongest candidate, and he went back, he said, let's go back 3 years. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the number one in the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl in a landslide. The next year, in 2021, they almost made it to the Super Bowl. They were a top team. Well, now, in 2023, you would not say about the Buccaneers. They're what? I think they've won 2 games, and they've lost like 8 games. Yeah, and the 2 they won were extremely narrow. Like, you would not say that now. So, Jink made a very good point. And going to the policy part of things, I would have to say they all raise some good points. You know, you have Marianne Williamson raising the point about college stuff. Her health, these two, Jink and Marianne Williamson, their healthcare policy is rubbish. They want to take away people's healthcare and force a Medicare for all. I don't agree with them. There's a lot of issues I strongly disagree with them on. But, you know, Marianne Williamson, I agree with her on free college for all. You know, they've raised some pretty good issues. I was talking about the 70s and 80s, how it was a healthy working class. And they're talking about how if you the way to beat fascism is to give real ideas and a real solution. Franklin Roosevelt said that. You know, I will say this debate was much more peaceful. I guess because it wasn't like in person, like it was a much more respectful debate. The only heated thing was Jink and Dean Phillips kind of got into it a little bit over the war. So Dean Phillips, I kind of like him. So I would have to say, on how the candidates did, I would have to say Jink won the debate. I think he did say some stuff that was kind of, I strongly disagreed with, that was kind of stupid, but I would say that he made the most sense and got the points out pretty clear. I think he would do the best on the debate stage. So yeah, so I would say probably ranking the candidates, I would put Jink in first place for the winner of the debate. I'd put Marianne in second. I'd put Dean Phillips in third. I will say this, I would much rather have any one of these 3 people as President of the United States than President Biden or Donald Trump. I'd also rather have any one of these people over Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy as well. Maybe even Ron DeSantis. You know, I think I would probably take Jink over Ron DeSantis, even though there's a lot I disagree with Jink on. But I don't think I'd rather any of these 3 over Christie, because I think Christie's got better policy. But, you know, it's pretty interesting to see. So, yeah, you know, I'd say ranking them in general and how I would vote. Probably Dean Phillips. I mean, he's the most establishment. So I would say Marianne Williamson and Jink are the progressives. Marianne Williamson's like a peaceful progressive. Jink's like an out there progressive. And then I would say Dean Phillips is very much the establishment. So ranking all 4 Democratic candidates in general, I guess I would have to go with Jink. Jink would be my number 1. And then I would have to say that I guess Dean Phillips would be number 2. And Marianne Williamson number 3. And Biden number 4. That's what I had to say, you know. I think all 3 of these candidates would stand much more of a shot in the general election than President Biden would. I'm being serious. So yeah, that was the Democratic debate. Wasn't really a debate. It was a more so of a formal conversation. But you know, DNC, stop rigging the nomination for Biden. Let's have a fair process. If Biden gets it, all right. Or if one of these candidates get it, you know, the DNC is supposed to be neutral. They're like the NFL. You know, imagine if the NFL was rigging games for certain teams that they liked. Imagine that. They don't do that. They're supposed to be neutral. They're there to be supportive, helpful, you know, holding town halls, holding debates, so that people can get to know the candidates. But they're not doing that. And I get it's an incumbent president. This is the second time an incumbent president has refused to debate. There's people saying, oh, what incumbent president has ever debated? Majority have. Well, the majority of incumbent presidents don't get primary challenge unless they're really terrible. So I'll give you some examples. So, in 1992, when President Bush was getting challenged by Pat Buchanan, he debated Pat Buchanan multiple times. Not as many times as you would in a regular primary, but still he debated him. And way back, and before that, 1980, Jimmy Carter, when Ted Kennedy was challenging him, they debated multiple times. There was another guy, the former Secretary of State at the time, was challenging. He debated them multiple different times. Ames in 1976, Gerald Ford wasn't elected, but he was still the president. He debated Ronald Reagan when Ronald Reagan was primarying him. Go back to 1968, before Lyndon Johnson dropped out, he was debating him. And he was debating Bobby Kennedy. And then if you go way back before debates were televised, Teddy Roosevelt, President Taft was debating Teddy Roosevelt. It's a tradition. Usually presidents don't get primary because they know that they're going to lose. But if a president is so bad, like Joe Biden, like Donald Trump wouldn't debate Bill Weld. Usually if they're so bad, usually they'll get a primary challenge. And in Biden's case, he's got 3. And, you know, to me, if Trump and Biden are such strong candidates, and are such great presidents as they say they are, I don't think you have a single person running against them. If that was true, it's not true. They both suck, and I want to I want to thank all three of these candidates for having the hostility to challenge President Biden, knowing that it could destroy their reputations, but having the hostility. I want to thank any candidate that's running, even the candidates that are kissing Trump's ass, that have the hostility to run against him. Even though, step up your game. You know, I would say that this is a much more debate talking about issues. You know, this debate was kind of like the same as the Republicans. They talked about a lot of issues that were important, but then they also didn't bring up a lot of issues that are important as well. So, yeah, you know, we're going to have to see. Like, they brought up a stupid issue like abortion. So we will have to see what happens. I don't think any of these candidates are going to get very far as long as there's not debates. I really don't, but I wish them all the best of luck. And let's see what happens. I'm still 100% with Bobby Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr. I'm very much still with him. I think he's the strongest candidate, but, you know, we are going to have to see what ends up happening. 2024 is going to be the most interesting and historical election that we've ever seen. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. We're at 50 subs. Thank you all so much. So, as the usual, please like this video, leave a comment on this video, please share this video, and most importantly, please subscribe to the channel. Alright, thanks everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.